There's something you've been feeling, but you haven't had the words for it yet. A quiet shift, like something isn't fully aligning anymore, even if nothing has been said, and deep down you already sense that something is about to become clear. Chosen one. There are moments in life when something shifts quietly beneath the surface. Nothing dramatic, nothing loud, just a subtle knowing that something is about to be revealed. You may have been feeling that lately. A sense that something you once ignored or couldn't fully understand is slowly coming into the light. This is not happening to disturb you, it is happening to free you. You have been patient for a long time. You gave your heart space to trust, to believe, to hope that what you were building with your partner was real, stable, and aligned. And in many ways your intentions were pure. You showed up with honesty, even when things felt uncertain. But deep inside, there has been a quiet voice. Not loud enough to create chaos, but present enough that you couldn't fully silence it. That voice has been guiding you, gently reminding you that not everything is as it seems. And now, that quiet awareness is becoming clearer. You were never confused, just not ready to fully see it. Comment Amen if something inside you has already started to shift. And now, that quiet knowing is getting harder to ignore. God does not rush truth. He allows things to unfold in their proper time, so you are emotionally and spiritually ready to receive it. If everything had been revealed earlier, it might have overwhelmed you. You might have reacted from pain instead of understanding. But now you are different. You are more grounded, more aware, less dependent on illusions, and more connected to what feels real and steady. That is why the truth is no longer being held back. This does not mean something dramatic or harmful is coming. It simply means clarity is arriving. You will begin to notice small things. The way your partner speaks, the way they show up, or don't. The energy between you will feel clearer, less confusing. Where there was once doubt, there will now be understanding. And this understanding will not feel heavy. It will feel calm. Because truth, even when it's uncomfortable, carries a sense of peace. It removes the constant questioning. It allows you to see things as they are, instead of how you hoped they would be. You may realize that your partner has been holding back parts of themselves, not necessarily out of harm, but out of fear, insecurity, or their own unresolved struggles. Or you may see that their actions haven't fully matched their words. Whatever is revealed, it will not come to break you. It will come to align you. Chosen one. You are not meant to live in confusion. You are not meant to constantly guess how someone feels about you or where you stand in their life. Your path is one of clarity, even if it takes time to reach it. And now, you are reaching it. It's important that you stay calm during this time. There is no need to confront everything at once. There is no need to force answers. Just observe. Just listen. Just allow things to show themselves naturally. You will know what is true without needing to chase it. Sometimes the truth is not spoken directly. It is felt. It is seen in patterns, in consistency, in the way someone chooses to show up over time. Pay attention to that, not just to words, but to actions. And as you begin to see clearly, something else will happen inside you. You will feel a sense of release, the emotional weight you may have been carrying without realizing it, the overthinking, the wondering, the trying to understand what didn't quite make sense. It will start to fade. Because clarity removes that burden, you will no longer need to hold on to uncertainty. And with that release comes a new kind of strength. A quiet strength. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything, doesn't need to argue or explain. It simply knows this is where you are being guided. Not into conflict, but into awareness. Not into fear, but into truth. If your partner is meant to walk this path with you, the truth will bring you closer in a real and honest way. It will open the door for deeper understanding and genuine connection. But if something is not aligned, the truth will gently show you that as well. Not to hurt you, but to protect your peace. You are not losing anything that is truly meant for you. What is real will remain. What is not will slowly fall away without force. This is why there is no need to rush or react. Let things unfold naturally. Let the truth come to you in its own time. in its own way, and trust what you feel. You have grown into someone who can recognize what is real and what is not. You don't need outside validation for that anymore. Your inner sense is enough. Chosen one, this is a moment of quiet awakening in your life. Not loud, not chaotic, just clear. And in that clarity, you will find your next step, not because someone tells you what to do, but because you will simply know. Stay grounded, stay present, and allow the truth to reveal itself gently. It is already on its way, and as this truth continues to unfold, you may notice that your reactions are not what they used to be, because where there was once a tendency to overthink, to question yourself, or to seek reassurance from others, there is now a quiet stability within you that allows you to simply witness what is happening without losing your sense of self in the process. This is part of your growth. There was a time when uncertainty would have pulled you into emotional cycles where you might have tried to fix things quickly to hold everything together or to make sense of what didn't fully align. But now there is a different energy guiding you, one that encourages you to pause, to breathe, and to allow life to show you what it needs, to show you without interference. You are learning that not everything needs to be forced into clarity, because real clarity arrives on its own when you are ready to see it. And readiness is not about knowing everything. It is about being able to accept what you come to understand without resisting it. There may be moments where what you see or feel about your partner brings a quiet sadness, not because something dramatic has happened, but because you begin to recognize the distance between what you once believed and what is actually present, and that realization can feel tender, almost like letting go of an image you held gently for a long time. Allow yourself to feel that without brushing past it. There is no weakness in acknowledging that something meant a lot to you, or that you had hoped for something deeper or more aligned, because your capacity to care is not something to regret. It is something that reflects the depth of who you are. But at the same time, you are also being shown that your peace cannot depend on another person's ability to meet you where you stand. This is an important shift, because when your peace is no longer tied to someone else's actions, words, or presence, you begin to experience a kind of freedom that is quiet but powerful. And from that space, your decisions become clearer, not driven by fear of loss, but guided by a deeper sense of truth. You may begin to notice that you are less reactive to your partner's behavior. Not because you no longer care, but because you are no longer trying to control what you cannot change. And this creates space. Not distance in a negative way, but space for things to reveal themselves without pressure. And in that space, truth becomes more visible. It becomes easier to see patterns that may have been hidden before, easier to understand what someone is capable of offering and what they are not. And this understanding does not need to be spoken out loud to be real. It settles within you quietly, like a knowing that does not require confirmation. There is also a deeper realization unfolding within you, one that goes beyond your partner, and that is the understanding that your life is not meant to be lived in partial clarity or emotional confusion, because your path is one of alignment, even if it requires moments of adjustment or redirection. And sometimes redirection does not come as a sudden change, but as a gradual shift in how you see things. You begin to outgrow what once felt acceptable, not in a judgmental way, but in a natural way, like how you move on from old thoughts or patterns that no longer reflect who you are becoming. And this applies to relationships as well. It is not about labeling something as right or wrong, but about recognizing whether it is aligned with the version of you that is emerging. And you are evolving. That evolution may make certain things feel different. Conversations may carry a different weight. Silence may feel more revealing than words, and your attention may naturally move toward what feels calm and grounded, rather than what feels uncertain or inconsistent. This is not something you are forcing. It is something that is happening because you are becoming more aware, and awareness changes everything. It changes how you interpret actions, how you respond to emotions, and how you choose where to place your energy. And as this continues, you may find yourself gently pulling back from trying to define everything too quickly, allowing time to show you what is real, instead of trying to decide based on limited understanding. There is a quiet patience in this, but it is not the same as waiting in uncertainty. It is a grounded patience that comes from trusting that you will see what you need to see when the moment is right. You are no longer trying to rush toward answers. You are allowing answers to come to you. And this shift protects your energy. Because when you are not chasing clarity, you are not draining yourself trying to interpret every small detail. Instead, you are observing the bigger picture, noticing consistency, presence, and truth over time rather than in isolated moments. And this is where real understanding forms. Not from a single conversation or a single action, but from patterns that reveal themselves naturally. As this continues, you may also feel a stronger connection to your own inner voice, not as something distant or uncertain, but as something steady and reliable, guiding you without pressure, without urgency. Just a quiet sense of knowing that becomes clearer the more you listen to it. This connection is important because it reminds you that you are not dependent on external clarity to feel grounded. You carry that clarity within you. And even if you do not have all the answers right now, you have enough awareness to recognize what feels aligned and what does not. And that is enough to guide your next steps when the time comes. There is no need to rush ahead of the moment. Everything that needs to be revealed will be revealed. And everything that needs to shift will shift in its own time. Your role is not to control that process, but to remain present within it, to stay connected to yourself, to remain open but not attached, to care but not lose yourself in the process. And as you continue in this space, you will notice that what once felt uncertain begins to settle, not because everything becomes perfect, but because you are no longer resisting what is being shown to you. You are allowing it. And in that allowance, there is peace. A quiet, steady peace that does not depend on outcomes, but on your ability to remain aligned with yourself, no matter what unfolds around you. This is where your strength truly lies, not in holding on, not in letting go forcefully, but in standing calmly in the truth as it reveals itself, trusting that whatever becomes clear is guiding you exactly where you need to be, even if you do not fully understand it yet. And that understanding will come gently, naturally, without force, just as everything else has been unfolding, one moment at a time. And as that understanding continues to settle within you, you may begin to notice that the need to label everything starts to fade, because there is a quiet acceptance growing inside you that does not require immediate definitions or conclusions. And this allows you to experience what is unfolding without the pressure of trying to force it into something certain before it is ready to fully reveal itself. This is a different way of moving through your connection. Instead of trying to secure clarity through constant questioning or emotional urgency, you are allowing clarity to emerge through presence, through observation, and through the simple act of being honest with yourself about what you feel, what you notice, and what remains consistent over time. There is a softness in this approach, but it is not weakness. It is awareness that has matured beyond reaction. And in that maturity, you begin to understand that not every truth arrives with confrontation or explanation. Some truths simply become evident through repeated experience, true patterns that no longer hide themselves once you are ready to see them, without denial or hesitation. You may find that certain moments with your partner now feel more transparent than before, where once you might have overlooked small inconsistencies or explained them away. You now see them for what they are without needing to make them heavier than they need to be. And this creates a calm distance between you and the need to interpret everything emotionally. That distance is not disconnection, it is clarity, creating space. It allows you to remain present without becoming overwhelmed, to care without becoming entangled, and to witness without losing your grounding. And this balance is something you have grown into, not something that appeared suddenly, but something that developed through your own experiences, your own reflections, and your willingness to face what you feel rather than avoid it. As you continue in this space, you may also notice that your expectations begin to shift in a subtle but meaningful way. Where before you may have hoped for certain behaviors, certain words, or certain reassurances from your partner, now you are less focused on what should be and more aware of what actually is. And this shift brings a different kind of peace, one that is rooted in reality rather than expectation. It does not mean you stop caring about what you deserve. It means you begin to see more clearly whether what you deserve is being met in a natural and consistent way. And that clarity becomes a quiet guide. It does not rush you into decisions. It does not push you toward conclusions. It simply stays with you, steady and present, allowing you to move forward at a pace that feels right for you, without pressure, without fear, and without the need to prove anything to anyone. There is also a deeper emotional shift taking place, one that may be difficult to fully put into words, but you can feel it in the way you relate to your own thoughts and emotions, where there is less resistance, less inner conflict, and more acceptance of what arises within you. You are no longer trying to silence your intuition. You are listening to it. And that listening changes the way you experience everything. It brings a sense of alignment that is not dependent on external circumstances, because even if things around you remain uncertain for a while, there is a part of you that feels steady, that feels connected to something deeper than temporary confusion. This is where your strength becomes quiet but undeniable, not in outward actions but in your ability to remain centered within yourself, even as things continue to unfold in ways that you are still coming to understand. You may also begin to feel that certain conversations no longer need to happen in the way you once thought they did not, because communication is unimportant, but because you realize that some truths do not require words to be known. They are already understood through energy, through consistency, through presence, or the lack of it. And this realization may change how you approach your partner. You may speak less but observe more. You may react less but understand more. You may feel less urgency but more clarity. And in this shift, there is a kind of peace that begins to settle into your connection. Not necessarily because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer trying to make everything fit into a certain image or expectation. You are allowing things to be seen as they are, and this honesty, even when it is quiet, brings a sense of relief. Because there is no longer a need to hold on to confusion or to carry questions that do not have immediate answers. You are trusting that what needs to become clear will become clear. And that trust allows you to release the weight of needing to figure everything out all at once. There is also a subtle realization that begins to take shape within you, one that may not feel fully formed yet but is present in the background of your awareness. And that is the understanding that your path is not defined by one relationship, one connection, or one moment in time. Your path is broader than that. It is guided by your growth, your awareness, and your alignment with what feels true to you, and as you continue to grow, certain things will naturally shift, not because they are being taken away from you, but because you are moving into a space where only what aligns with your truth can remain. This is not something to fear. It is something to understand. Because when you begin to see your life from this perspective, you realize that nothing real is ever lost. It either deepens with you or gently falls away when it no longer matches who you are becoming. And this realization brings a sense of calm acceptance. Even if there are still moments of uncertainty along the way, you are no longer trying to control the outcome. You are allowing the process. And in that allowance, you begin to feel a quiet confidence returning to you, not loud or expressive, but steady and grounded, like something within you has settled into its place and no longer needs to search outside for confirmation. This confidence is not about knowing exactly what will happen next. It is about trusting that whatever happens, you will meet it with clarity, with awareness, and with a sense of self that is no longer easily shaken. And as this continues, you may notice that your focus begins to shift slightly away from your partner and more toward yourself, not in a distant or detached way, but in a natural and healthy way, where your energy is no longer centered on trying to understand someone else completely, but on remaining connected to your own sense of truth. This shift is important because it brings you back to yourself. It reminds you that no matter what unfolds around you, your stability comes from within, from your awareness, your presence, and your willingness to stay aligned with what feels real and grounded for you. And from that place, everything becomes clearer. Not all at once, not in a way that demands immediate action, but in a gradual, steady way that allows you to move forward with understanding instead of confusion. And as you continue to walk this path, you will find that the truth you have been sensing does not arrive as something overwhelming or disruptive, but as something quiet and certain, something that settles into your awareness in a way that feels almost natural, as if it was always there waiting for you to be ready to fully see it. And now, you are. And in this readiness, there is a quiet shift in how you hold everything that once felt uncertain, because instead of trying to resolve it quickly or make immediate sense of every detail, you begin to allow understanding to unfold at its own pace, trusting that what is becoming clear does not need to be forced into clarity. It simply needs to be acknowledged as it reveals itself. This acknowledgement is subtle, but it changes everything. It allows you to sit with what you see without turning it into something heavier than it needs to be, without attaching unnecessary fear or expectation to it, and without losing your sense of balance in the process. And this is where your awareness becomes steady, not easily shaken by temporary emotions or passing thoughts. You may notice that the way you interpret your partner's presence has softened, not in the sense that you are ignoring what you feel, but in the sense that you are no longer trying to fill in the gaps or create explanations for things that are simply showing themselves as they are. And this brings a certain calm to your perception. There is less guessing, less internal questioning, less need to analyze every interaction, and more quiet understanding. This understanding does not come from effort. It comes from allowing yourself to see clearly without resistance. And as you continue in this space, something deeper begins to take shape within you, something that goes beyond your partner, beyond the situation, and into your own sense of self, where you begin to feel more anchored in who you are, independent of how things unfold around you. This anchoring is not loud or obvious. It is something you feel in the way you respond, in the way you hold your thoughts, and in the way you move through moments that once might have unsettled you. There is a steadiness now, a quiet strength that does not need validation. And from this place, your connection with your partner begins to look different, not necessarily because they have changed, but because you are seeing them through a clearer lens, one that is no longer clouded by expectation, hope, or the need for things to be a certain way. You are seeing what is present, and this kind of seeing is honest. It does not exaggerate, it does not minimize, it simply recognizes what is there. And this recognition brings you closer to truth, even if that truth is still unfolding in small, gradual ways. There may be moments where you feel a sense of quiet distance, not because you are pulling away intentionally, but because you are no longer holding on in the same way. And this can feel unfamiliar at first, like something has shifted without a clear explanation. But this distance is not something to fear. It is space that allows both you and your partner to exist without pressure, without expectation, and without the need to constantly define what is happening. And in that space, clarity continues to grow, because when there is no pressure, there is no need for anything to hide. Everything begins to show itself naturally in its own time, and this natural unfolding carries a sense of truth that does not need to be questioned. You begin to trust what you see, not because someone confirms it for you, but because it aligns with what you feel. And this alignment is important. It brings a sense of inner peace that is not dependent on external reassurance, and it allows you to move forward without the weight of doubt that once lingered quietly in the background. As this continues, you may also notice that your emotional responses become more balanced, where there is less intensity tied to each moment, and more understanding of the bigger picture. And this does not mean you are becoming detached. It means you are becoming aware in a way that allows you to feel without becoming overwhelmed. There is a difference between reacting and understanding, and you are moving into understanding. This shift changes how you experience everything. It changes how you listen, how you observe, and how you interpret what is happening between you and your partner. And as a result, your decisions when they come will not be driven by temporary emotions, but by a deeper sense of clarity that has been building over time. There is no rush in this process, no urgency to decide, to act, or to conclude, because what is being revealed is not something that requires immediate action. It is something that requires presence, awareness, and the willingness to remain honest with yourself as you continue to see more clearly. And honesty, in this sense, is gentle. It does not force you to confront everything at once. It simply invites you to acknowledge what you already know, even if that knowing is still forming, still becoming clearer with each passing moment. You may find that certain realizations come to you quietly in moments when you are not actively thinking about your relationship, but simply present with yourself. And these realizations do not feel overwhelming. They feel natural, like something settling into place. And when something settles, it does not create chaos, it creates calm. Because you are no longer trying to resist what you see, you are allowing it. And in that allowance, there is a sense of freedom that begins to emerge. Not the kind that comes from change or separation, but the kind that comes from understanding, from knowing that you are no longer bound to confusion or uncertainty in the way you once were. You are free to see clearly, free to feel honestly, free to move forward at your own pace, without pressure, without fear, and without the need to explain your process to anyone else. This is your journey, and it is unfolding exactly as it needs to, not all at once. Not in a way that demands immediate clarity, but in a steady, gentle progression that allows you to grow into the understanding you are receiving. And as you continue to grow, you will notice that what once felt unclear no longer holds the same weight, because you are no longer looking at it from the same place. You are seeing it from a place of awareness, from a place of calm, from a place of truth. And in that truth there is no confusion, only understanding that continues to deepen, quietly, steadily, and without force, guiding you forward in a way that feels natural, grounded, and aligned with who you are becoming. And as this alignment continues to deepen within you, there is a quiet realization forming that what you are experiencing is not just about understanding another person, but about coming into a more honest relationship with yourself, where you no longer feel the need to look away from what is clear or soften what you already sense just to preserve a certain image or emotional comfort. This honesty with yourself is gentle, but it is also firm in a way that does not allow you to return to confusion once clarity has begun to settle. You may notice that even when you try to revisit old ways of thinking, old patterns of explaining things away or holding on to uncertainty, something within you does not fully engage with it anymore, because you have already seen beyond it. And once something is seen clearly, it cannot be unseen. This is part of your awakening within this situation. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is real. And it carries a sense of quiet finality, not in the sense that everything is ending, but in the sense that a certain phase of not knowing, of questioning, of trying to understand without clarity, is slowly coming to a close. There is less effort now, less internal negotiation, less trying to convince yourself of something that does not fully resonate, and more acceptance of what is naturally revealing itself. You may begin to feel a subtle detachment from outcomes, not because you no longer care, but because your sense of stability is no longer dependent on how things turn out. And this creates a different kind of peace, one that allows you to remain open without becoming vulnerable to confusion. This openness is important, because it allows truth to continue flowing toward you without resistance, without being filtered through fear or expectation, and as a result what you receive feels clear, direct, and aligned with what you already sense within yourself. There may still be moments where emotions rise, where you feel the weight of what you are realizing, especially if it contrasts with what you once hoped for, but even in those moments there is a quiet awareness present, reminding you that feeling does not mean losing yourself. It simply means you are processing what is real. And processing does not require urgency. It requires presence. It requires allowing yourself to move through what you feel without trying to escape it or rush past it. And as you do this, those emotions begin to settle on their own, without needing to be forced into resolution. This is where your inner balance becomes more noticeable, not in the absence of feeling, but in your ability to remain steady within it. And from that steadiness you begin to see your partner even more clearly, not just in their actions, but in their limitations, in what they are able to offer, and in what they are not. And this seeing does not come with judgment, it comes with understanding, because you begin to recognize that everyone moves according to their own level of awareness, their own capacity, and their own readiness. And this includes your partner as well. This understanding softens any need to place blame. It removes the need to assign fault. And instead, it brings you into a space where you can simply acknowledge what is present without trying to change it into something else. And in that acknowledgement, there is clarity. You begin to see not only who they are, but also what this connection truly is. beyond what you once imagined it to be. And this truth does not feel forced, it feels natural, like something that has been slowly unfolding and is now becoming fully visible. As this becomes clearer, you may also feel a stronger sense of direction within yourself, not in the form of immediate decisions, but in a quiet knowing of what aligns with you and what does not. And this knowing does not push you, it simply stays with you, guiding you gently as you continue forward. There is no pressure in it, no urgency, just a steady presence that becomes more defined with time. And as you stay connected to this presence, you begin to understand that your path is not about holding on to something that does not fully meet you, nor is it about walking away abruptly without understanding. It is about allowing truth to guide your movement naturally without force. This natural movement is important because it ensures that whatever shifts from a place of clarity rather than reaction, and whatever remains because it is truly aligned, not because it is being held onto out of habit or uncertainty. You are no longer operating from the same place you once were. There is a depth within you now that changes how you approach everything, including this connection. And that depth comes from your willingness to stay present with what is real, even when it is not fully comfortable. And because of that, you are no longer easily pulled into illusions. You recognize when something feels off, you notice when something is not consistent, and you trust those observations without needing to second-guess them. This trust in yourself is one of the most important shifts taking place within you, because it allows you to stand in your awareness without needing external confirmation, without needing someone else to validate what you feel or see. You know. And that knowing is enough. As this continues, there is also a quiet sense of closure beginning to form within certain parts of your mind, not necessarily in the relationship as a whole, but in the way you once viewed it, in the expectations you once held, and in the questions that once kept you searching for answers. Those questions are fading, not because they were answered directly, but because you no longer need to ask them. You have seen enough, you have felt enough. And that is bringing you into a space where understanding replaces questioning. This space is calm. It is not filled with overthinking or emotional tension. It is steady, grounded, clear, and from here, whatever comes next will not feel confusing. It will feel like a continuation of what has already been revealed, a natural next step that does not require force or struggle, because it will align with the truth you have come to understand. And in this alignment, there is peace, not because everything is perfectly resolved, but because you are no longer disconnected from yourself. You are present, aware, and grounded in what is real, and that more than anything is what allows you to move forward without fear, without hesitation, and without losing the sense of calm that you have been slowly building within yourself moment by moment, as everything continues to unfold exactly as it needs to. And as everything settles into this quiet understanding, you begin to realize that nothing was ever truly hidden from you. It was only waiting for you to reach a place where you could see it without fear, without denial, and without losing yourself in the process. What you needed to know has already found its way to you gently, piece by piece, until it became something you could no longer overlook. Not because it forced itself into your awareness, but because you became ready to receive it with clarity. There is a calm acceptance in this, not the kind that gives up, but the kind that understands, the kind that no longer tries to hold on to what feels uncertain and no longer questions what has already shown itself to be true. You are no longer searching, you are seeing, and in that seeing, there is a quiet peace that replaces all the confusion that once lingered within you. Nothing more needs to be forced, nothing more needs to be chased. Everything is already unfolding in a way that is guiding you back to yourself, back to your clarity, and back to a place where your heart feels steady again. And from here, whatever comes next will not feel like a question. It will feel like a natural step forward, one that aligns with the truth you now carry within you, quietly, clearly, and without doubt. Clarity doesn't arrive to disturb you. It arrives to bring you back to yourself. And when you finally see things as they are, something inside you becomes still again. If this message resonates, you can stay connected only if it feels right to you.